Boy,
going?
it's freaking hot. Oh, it's just coming on to winter there, isn't it?
The weather is starting to look really up.
You say you're coming out of lockdown now?
We're still in lockdown.
You're still in. I thought you were, yeah.
Yeah, so we had a second.
You're as bad as we are.
What's that?
I said you guys are as bad as we are.
Oh, it's been pretty it's been pretty I guess seasonally coming out of this second round of lockdown, it kind of works in our favor going into summer as opposed to heading into winter towards the end of the year. A friend of mine who runs a bar in Brooklyn was saying that they're allowed to serve everybody out on the street, but of course New York winter's been pretty oppressive. Everything's going to have to shut down again. So that's yeah. Anyway, are you still celebrating yesterday's painfully ironic, hilarious news?
Painfully ironic. Delightfully ironic. I know it's evil thoughts are going through my mind.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. I'd actually, we're talking about the weather. I came back. I went down to the beach for a swim and came back and checked my phone, and the first thing I saw was an email from you saying, about the Zoom link, saying, "Got it? Like Trump's got COVID." And then as soon as I saw that, a news notification popped up saying that Donald Trump has coronavirus. So I'm glad, if there was anyone that I found out Donald Trump had coronavirus from, I'm glad it was Todd Rundgren.
Well, we don't know what the hell's going to happen.
Well, yeah.
At this point, it's like craziness upon craziness.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm kind of glad that I'm here instead of some other places.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of those goofy-looking glasses here. There.
Lovely. Is a kind of return to some semblance of normality over in Hawaii, or?
Well, on Kauai, we haven't had a new case in a couple of months.
Oh, that's good. Right.
And we're about to come out of, I think, what was a mandatory 2-week quarantine for anybody who traveled to the islands. So,
yeah.
So that was that quelled a lot of tourist business.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So they're trying to figure out how to get around that. They got some sort of bubble scheme, bubble resorts or whatever, where you can go to a hotel, but you can't leave the hotel.
Hell. Yeah.
So I think it's slowly coming back here, and it likely will come back here before some other places. But see, that's part of the problem. We don't have national guidelines. In some places, you don't even have clear state guidelines. And so different cities will impose their own sort of limits and quarantines and things like that, and it makes it hard to tour.
Exactly, yeah. I saw you'd had to put back again your next round of touring that you'd had planned. So, I mean, that was kind of inevitable, I'd suppose, but...
Well, I never thought we were actually going to get out in January, considering the pace of things.
Yeah.
That was actually the third time they moved. The tour was originally supposed to be May and June.
Yeah.
And then they had this, for some reason, really rosy idea, that everyone was going to behave and wear their masks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they booked it again for July. And then they realized that wasn't going to work either. So then they rebooked it again for October, November, something like that.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't well. Then they moved it to January.
Yeah.
And I wasn't looking forward to that, to going out in the dead of winter.
Right.
You travel in the dead of winter. So
of course, yeah.
And on top of that, of course, the virus has not abated. to the degree that we could depend on filling houses again. So
Exactly, yeah.
at this point, it's going to be about a year from now before I'm on the road again.
Right.
That doesn't mean I won't be playing.
How so? You shall be. Are you doing?
I'm planning a virtual tour. It's not announced yet.
Yeah.
But it will be definitely happening. We've
Yep.
gotten all of the necessary parties to agree on how and when we're going to do it. We're not ready to announce it yet, but part of that was lining up the band.
Yep.
To find people who can travel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Or are willing to travel.
Yeah.
And some were and some weren't. And then that will actually entail what that means, at least for me, is not playing like a live show and, one live show and then everybody tunes in, call it a tour.
Yeah.
We'll actually be booking cities and narrow casting a performance to each one of those cities.
Each city gets its own bespoke.
So they get their own show, and so
Yeah.
we'll be doing like 30 shows, but all from the same.
That's incredible. Where will you do that from? Will you head over to? Will that be from? You'll be setting up in LA or something like that, or?
Yeah, right now we're planning on setting up in Chicago because if we were on the West Coast and we had like an 8 o'clock show in New York, that would mean we were starting the show at 11 o'clock at night.
Of course, yeah.
First, if we were on the East Coast and we had a West Coast show, we'd be playing it at 5 in the afternoon.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Something like that. I think
Playing-
the other way around. But in any case, being at the extremes of the country was a little bit more onerous than, being in a central zone where a New York 8 o'clock show would be 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And a West Coast show would be West Coast 8 o'clock show would be at 6 o'clock.
Of course, yeah. Well, that makes
I got that wrong, but in any case.
In any case, yeah, it's just common sense.
Yeah, it would be 10 o'clock. West Coast show would be at 10 o'clock.
Yep. Great. So you have, obviously you have a home recording setup, and I think I was mentioned on an email a little while ago that I think you were mentioning that because you're wrapping up your record Space Force that's coming out early next year at some point, and due to the collaborative nature of the project, some people have been unable to finish things for you because they've not been able to get into a studio. So, even though you're wrapping up this record, have you been? Of course, we've all been at home. Have you been working on other things? Do you ordinarily just kind of go in and record, even if it's not for a specific project? Do you just, if inspiration strikes, you go and work?
Well, certainly if I have an inspiration, I got the studio here and I'll go in, but
yeah.
I've been actually pretty busy with the variety of different things. Some of them are recording related.
Yep.
I've been asked to do contribute vocals to a number of different records, usually just singles or something like that. But there are those opportunities. I'm working on videos for the singles that are coming out off of Space Force. Earlier in the year, I got back into programming because I think at some point we may try and reintroduce PatronNet, given that people are spending much time at home.
Yep.
And at one point, I spent about 2 weeks working on Kanye's record.
Holy shit! Right.
And then that's shenanigans with him and Trump started, and then I had to bail from the whole thing. I couldn't deal with it.
Okay.
So I've been keeping busy.
Right. And also, like, I tuned into one of your web shows that you've been doing. That looked like it was fun to put together.
It was fun, but a lot of work.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I only did 6 episodes was it would take the better part of a week put the show together. And so even though we were only on every other week, it still made it hard for me to like get into some other project and stay focused on it, and then have to completely stop, focus on the video part, and then get back into it again. So it's, from a workflow standpoint, it's easier that I don't have the show. It might have been something I would have done more episodes of, but I didn't have any help on it. You know, I was the cameraman, I'm the editor, you know, sound, everything was pretty me. So that's why it took so much time, and why I'm not doing it anymore.
I've been trying to, one of the things one of the things I set myself to learn in these last few months of lockdown is trying to get my head around Final Cut Pro and editing my own videos. And I guess when you're, I've been trying to make my own videos, but also as well, like, from the same thing of making sure the sound is right, and then going back and then making sure the green screen is that there are no creases in the green screen. All that shit is
like getting it properly lit and all that.
Yeah.
You know? There's a lot of detail involved in doing video that doesn't look like crap. You know,
exactly. Yeah, and
most people talk video, stick up your phone. You know, and if you're doing something that's supposed to look like a TV show, there's a bit more work. But I didn't use Final Cut or any of those expensive things, except in one instance, which is I use a thing called LumaFusion on my iPad. So I produce all the shows on my iPad.
Okay.
You check it out. It's like $25.
Really?
And you get 6 tracks of video and another 6 tracks of stereo audio, all the effects, titling. It's amazing for what you get for a mere pittance.
Yeah, absolutely.
So LumaFusion on the iPad.
And it's a pretty user-friendly interface, and
it's real easy to use. It takes a little bit to learn where everything is on it, you know, because pad apps and phone apps and stuff like that are always a little bit more weird because you don't have rollovers.
Of course,
you know, when you're on a computer and you got a mouse and the cursor goes over something that you can touch, it lights up.
Yeah.
But when you're using a tablet or a phone, there's no such thing as a rollover. So you have to guess where everything is.
Yeah. Right.
There's no such thing as, you know, a little pop-up help that says what this thing does, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
You either touch it or you don't. You touch it and then it's already done its thing. So.
Yep.
And then the only other thing I used was DaVinci Resolve, which is Blackmagic. Comes with a Blackmagic camera, which I got and which was too complicated to use for my show.
Right.
But I got essentially a plug-in for that, and it's the only thing. I've never edited a show on Resolve, but there's a plugin that essentially will take something that's shot at regular speed and make it look like it's shot in super slow-mo. So I would use that a lot for like sunsets that didn't go on a lot long enough.
For time lapse kind of. Yeah.
But it makes it look really, you know, super smooth. It's not jerky like just simply slowing the frame rate down. Right.
Speaking of iPads, one thing that stuck in my mind when we toured a couple of years ago was that you're an Angry Birds fan, and I remember spying you playing Angry Birds a couple of times. I can't remember if it was you or Michelle told me that at 1 point or 2 points you held the top score in the world for Angry Birds.
Angry Birds.
Is that
no?
True? Did I imagine that?
You did not imagine it. You know, they would have these daily tournaments, and at one point I was pretty well hooked on the game and wasted too much time playing Angry Birds. But the result was that every once in a while I would get the top score. But because I don't do any of that social media stuff,
Yeah.
I was completely anonymous
Yeah.
in that sense. I just had some default character assigned to me, and that's what I played.
Actually, but one thing I was really interested to ask is how, going back to recording at home, how do you structure your days? Do you go in with a kind of regimented? Do you wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to clock in now and make something, or do you sit down and how would ideas present themselves to you, or do you just?
Well, I don't really get into any sort of hard schedule unless I'm on deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm not on deadline, it's just kind of whenever I feel like it. I do a lot of brain work. I don't measure my efficiency on the amount of time I spend in front of the computer.
Of course, yeah.
I'm always thinking about what I'm going to do so that I don't wind up sitting in front of the screen blankly wondering what to do next.
Yeah.
So I do as much of the process internally as I can. And then when I get into the studio, it kind of all comes out fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Not necessarily all the time. Sometimes I'm given a problem and it takes more perspiration and inspiration to get through it. But
right, yeah.
For the most part, I like to spend more time thinking about things than actually doing things.
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna, yeah.